Chapter 11. Lai Yunxiao sat on the chair and pondered for a while. If not for the fact that he was too weak, he would not have needed to take Jia Rong as a slave. And after using the soul-absorbing technique just now, his spirit power was greatly damaged. It's a pity that my spirit power was greatly weakened after my rebirth. Otherwise, a mere soldier-level refiner would not need to go through so much trouble. After his rebirth, his spirit power was not even comparable to a normal soldier-level refiner. Just now, he had only used the soul-absorbing technique to stun Jia Rong. If Jia Rong had recovered, he would definitely have felt that something was wrong. That was why he gave him the soul-refining technique. This was called hitting someone with a stick and giving them a bun. Otherwise, no matter how trashy the soul-refining technique was, it was still a priceless treasure. How could he give it away so easily? Lai Yunxiao sat cross-legged and closed his eyes. In his mind, a golden text began to appear. It was all indecipherable tadpole characters, flashing and disappearing in his sea of consciousness. But no matter how he thought, he could not make the tadpole characters appear in his mind. After his soul awakened, it was only a matter of time before he became an expert. But Lai Yunxiao's goal was not just that. He wanted to become an existence that surpassed his past life and break through to that legendary realm. His biggest reliance now was not the memories of his past life, nor was it the tyrannical heaven-refining body technique. But before he fell in his past life, he found a soul-refining technique in the Tian Shao Mountains, the Great Divine Evolution technique. He had never heard of this soul-refining technique, and the soul-refining technique recorded, and it was even more beyond his imagination. To be able to be reborn, it was definitely related to this great divine evolution technique. When he recovered the memories of his past life, the voice that rang in his mind was this divine evolution technique. The cultivators on the Sky Martial continent were basically divided into martial cultivators and technique cultivators. The former was mainly Kai refinement, and there was an extremely small number of martial cultivators who specialized in body refinement, which were normal martial artists. The latter was soul-refining technique, which were refiner masters. These three corresponded to a person's essence, Kai, and spirit. Regardless of which one reached the peak, one could become an existence that could shake the entire continent. However, Lai Yunxiao, who had cultivated his Kai and spirit to the overlord realm, knew the importance of the three complementing each other. The few, titled Emperor Wu, who were ranked at the top of the heaven and earth, wind, and cloud list, had all cultivated two of them to the pinnacle, which was why they were able to surpass other existences. It was also because he was stuck at the peak of the Jiushan realm that he realized that the strength of his body was restricting him from making further breakthroughs. That was why he tried to get the tyrannical physique refining art. Only when one's body, Kai, and soul reached the pinnacle at the same time could they break through to the legendary 10 Directions realm. With this divine evolution technique, I will definitely be able to cultivate my soul power to the peak of the 9th Order Emperor realm. Coupled with Beishan's body-refining technique, when the three of them combine, I will be invincible in the world. A bright light flashed across his eyes. It was as if he could see through the layers of space and stared at the end of the endless void. With this 5-colored sacred space stone, I can refine at least 13 immortal needles, which would be enough to stimulate the potential of my body and help me break through to the chakra realm. He calmed his heart and began to circulate the divine evolution technique. The soul power that he had just lost recovered at a terrifying speed. Not long after, he reached the pinnacle of an arcane apprentice. I'm still a little away from becoming a first-order warrior, but it's enough to refine immortal needles and concoct medicine. After he settled Han Bai and Chen Zhen down, he walked towards the training room. The training room in the single dormitory was made of extremely tough diamond rock. Not only was it difficult for ordinary martial artists to injure it, it was also soundproof. Lai Yunxiao took out a type of purple-gold sand from the materials Jia Rong gave him. He clapped his hands and turned it into dust. He drew a pentagram-like formation on the ground. Once the formation was formed, a strange force began to spread. He placed the five-colored sacred space stone on the ground, took out the black greatsword, and slashed it down with all his strength. With a boom, it shattered into countless tiny pieces. A golden light flashed between his eyebrows. An invisible wave of soul power rippled out and wrapped all the tiny pieces, condensing them on the pentagram-like formation. Those tiny pieces seemed to be attracted by the formation's power. They began to tremble non-stop, and the frequency became higher and higher. Lai Yunxiao carefully used his soul power to control the rhythm of the five-colored sacred space stone's tiny pieces, allowing them to move freely. If someone were to witness the entire process again, they would definitely be dumbfounded. Whether it was carving formations, refining stones, or using soul power, they were all completely different from normal arcane masters. It was basically incomprehensible. Lai Yunxiao's rich experience from his previous life made up for his lack of strength. Originally, only a warrior-level alchemist could refine something, but with the strength of an advanced alchemist apprentice, he could refine it with ease. Large amounts of five-colored sacred space stone fragments began to explode on the formation. Like frying beans, they quickly turned into a sticky substance and began to condense. The color of the liquid became brighter and brighter. Large amounts of white dust directly drifted out. He actually integrated the purification step into the refinement process. If those people from the Arcane Alchemist Guild saw this, their jaws would definitely drop. Condense? Lai Yunxiao spat out a single word and pointed his index finger at the void in front of him. The essence Kai that had been extracted from the array formation instantly condensed into 13 tiny needle-like lights, reflecting a five-colored light. It was so beautiful. The 13 glowing needles landed lightly in Lai Yunxiao's hand. He was too lazy to look at them. He directly put them into his ring. Next, let's begin to brew the meridian cleansing medicine. He casually took out more than 10 glassware of different sizes. They were arranged in a row on the ground. He took out a large bottle of red liquid from his storage bag. It emitted a pungent smell. It was actually the blood of some kind of demonic beast. He poured them into the containers one by one. Then, Lai Yunxiao took a deep breath. A glimmer of light flashed across his eyes. He quickly took out various materials from his storage bag and placed them into different containers. Very soon, different strange reactions began to appear in the containers. Various vibrations and gases were emitted from the different containers. They emitted colorful bubbles. Lai Yunxiao spread out his soul power. All the reactions were monitored by his sea of knowledge. He could see his hands continuously adding materials into the containers to counteract the violent changes. Bang! 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 Sounds of explosions rang out continuously, and the containers finally couldn't withstand the violent reaction and exploded one after another. Streams of colorful liquid shot into the sky like water guns. Collect! Lai Yunxiao waved his hand. An exquisite crystal container danced in the air. A total of 9 streams of liquid fell into it with unerring accuracy. His hand trembled and he began to shake it continuously. The 9 different colored liquids quickly fused together to form a bottle of dark green liquid. It quietly flowed within the container. The entire process lasted for about an hour. Due to the excessive consumption of soul power, Lai Yunxiao's face and forehead were covered in a dense layer of sweat. His entire body was soaked in sweat. Large droplets of sweat fell to the ground. Phew! Lai Yunxiao let out a long breath. Haha, the treasured sword is not old. I've finally mastered it. The green liquid in the crystal container looked very calm. However, Lai Yunxiao could feel the surging power of an undercurrent. It was an extremely surging power. He didn't have time to rest. He really wanted to know the effects of the medicine. Very quickly, he got a large bucket of boiling water and slowly poured the dark green medicine in his hand into it. Gurgle, gurgle. A loud boiling sound could be heard. The temperature of the water seemed to have increased by 100 degrees. Large amounts of water vapor rose, and the entire room was covered in a faint green color. It was so dark that one couldn't even see their fingers. Lai Yunxiao's body started to heat up in the water vapor. The huge heat slowly penetrated his skin. He took out the five-colored godly void needle and carefully inserted it into his body. With every needle, he could feel a force piercing through his skin into his meridians. Not only was there no pain, but it was also very comfortable. Splash. After the 13 needles pierced into his body, he directly jumped into the boiling medicinal water. Apart from the scalding heat that burned his skin, a huge amount of medicinal power frantically surged into his body, spreading to his limbs and bones. His entire body began to turn pale green at a speed visible to the naked eye. His whole body was in pain, but his face revealed a look of joy. The effect of the medicine was better than expected. After closing his eyes tightly, he formed a seal with both hands and sat still quietly. It formed a strange contrast with the boiling water vapor around him. The 13 needles that were inserted into his body emitted a faint, colorful light. It was as if there was a force circulating on them. The medicine that he had concocted was mostly poisonous. However, it could form a subtle balance when used together. It had an unexpected, miraculous effect on cleansing the meridians and marrow. Ordinary people who didn't know much about medicine and concoction would not dare to use it. Even he had to carefully rinse it 10 times. Otherwise, a careless move could cause the toxicity to be out of balance and cause death on the spot. However, after obtaining the five-colored godly void needle, his steps were completely changed. The five-colored godly void needle contained the power of the 5 elements. When stimulating the acupuncture points, not only could it absorb the power of the 5 elements through the needle, but it could also effectively protect the acupuncture points. Ainz could clearly feel a cool and comfortable feeling coming from the 13 main acupuncture points in his body. It was as if his acupuncture points were opening and closing as he breathed, breathing in and out elemental energy. After the power of the medicine was absorbed into his body, it flowed along his meridians and rushed to every part of his body. It started to open up the damaged and dried up meridians one by one. Under the immense pain, his face gradually revealed a joyful smile. Just as the medicinal effect was getting more and more intense, his hands started to form all kinds of hand seals, guiding the medicinal effect in his body to circulate. From the outside, the meridians swelled up on his skin like the intertwined roots of tree branches. It was a terrifying sight. There was also a faint green aura faintly seeping out of his meridians. Boom! A muffled sound rang out in his body. All the meridians were instantly blasted open. The medicinal effect surged into his limbs and bones. Under the guidance of the hand seals, it circulated a great cycle, unobstructed. Chapter 12. It's done. Ainz was overjoyed. However, he didn't stand up. Instead, he formed a few hand seals and continued to guide the medicinal efficacy towards the chakra in his chest. The meridians were all cleared. The next step was to open the first chakra. Ordinary people would open it from the top to the bottom, starting from the crown chakra. However, Ainz didn't follow the rules. He directly opened the heart chakra, which was the most difficult part. A dark green radiance started to condense in his heart. The radiance grew brighter and brighter, like a flower bud blooming in an instant. Instantly, he felt that the long-awaited energy in his heart chakra was finally released. He opened his eyes abruptly. A ray of light flashed across his pupils like lightning. A weird posture suddenly appeared in his mind. Ainz had an epiphany. He shouted in a deep voice, "The second move of tyrannical heaven-body refining technique, mountain form." He put his palms together and sank into the medicinal liquid like a mountain. The boiling medicinal liquid around him seemed to be attracted by some kind of force. It started to revolve around him like a flowing galaxy. The light from the heart chakra in front of his chest became the eye of the whirlpool. Streams of energy kept pouring into it. Ha! Open them all. The radiance on the heart chakra instantly blossomed. 2 rays of light rushed along his body. Soon, the sun chakra, self chakra, throat chakra, and glabella chakra lit up with different colors under the impact of the heart chakra's energy. Apart from the light green in the room, the other chakra lights started to reflect. Boom! Just when Lai Yunxiao wanted to absorb the energy from the medicinal liquid to open the last 2 chakras, the energy that his body could withstand had reached its peak. 13 5-colored godly void needles shot out from his acupoints. The balance of his body was destroyed. A huge force exploded in the wooden barrel. The moment the meridians and marrow-cleansing medicine exploded, it evaporated into mist. The entire practice room was wet as if it had been washed by water. Lai Yunxiao walked out of the mist. He sighed, "Only 3 chakras. What a pity." If other martial disciples heard that he had opened 3 chakras at once and said it was a pity, they would definitely bite him to death out of jealousy. Lai Yunxiao carefully put away the 5-colored god void needles. After using them, the 13 needles had clearly become thinner and thinner. The 5-colored god void needle has a great effect on stimulating the potential of one's body. The Land family must think of a way to get the other 4. After thinking for a while, he changed into a set of clean clothes and walked out of the room. When he arrived at the hall, he happened to see Han Bai and Chen Zhen coming out of their rooms. The injuries on their bodies were almost healed, but Chen Zhen's bloated face did not disappear at all. "Young Master Yun," the 2 of them exclaimed in unison as they stared at Lai Yunxiao in shock. Their eyes burned with fury. Han Bai said furiously, "Lan Fei and that group of people are too much. He actually poisoned young Master Yun with such a heavy poison. Do you think he would dare to kill us in public?" Chen Zhen was also furious. "I really want to go back and gather 10,000 troops to wipe them out. Young Master Yun, are you all right? This poison..." Only now did Lai Yunxiao realize that his entire body had a faint green color. This was a symptom of the drug's effects still lingering in his body. He would slowly recover. He briefly explained the matter to them, and the 2 of them were dumbfounded. They were stunned for a long time. "Young Master Yun, you're saying that you taught them a lesson and even robbed them all. Young Master Yun, you're saying that you've already opened all of your meridians and 5 chakras." Chen Zhen burst into laughter. "Ha ha, I knew it. How could the son of General Fei Long be trash? You've suddenly become stronger than all of us. When the 3 of us graduate and inherit the title of nobility, we'll immediately gather 1,000,000 soldiers and wipe out the Land family." The shock on Han Bai's face gradually faded, and he fell into deep thought. Young Master Yun opening his chakras is naturally great news, but it's also troublesome. Lan Fei and the others will definitely not let this go. I'm afraid that young Master Yun will be in even more danger. Chen Zhen was immersed in his heroic thoughts. He said disdainfully, "They're just some small fry. They're not young Master Yun's match now, and they won't be in the future. Do you think they'll dare to send people to cause trouble in the academy? In the entire Tianshui country, there were only 2 martial kings in the 5-element realm. One of them was the principal of Jialan Academy, Zhang Lishan. He was also known as the strongest person in Tianshui country. A country had its laws, and a family had its rules. However, Jialan Academy had its own rules. Even a king had to follow the rules of Jialan Academy. There was once a son of an assistant minister from the Ministry of War who suffered a loss in the academy. When he returned, he called the experts from his family to beat up another student. On the 2nd day, the cultivation of all the martial artists from the assistant minister's family was crippled. From then on, the family completely declined and disappeared from the center of the country's politics. This matter made all the aristocratic families in Tianshui country fearful. Even the princes and princesses didn't dare to behave atrociously in the academy. However, the academy didn't forbid students from fighting each other. Thus, in the academy, one could only rely on one's own ability. Han Bai shook his head. Lan Fei is naturally not a threat now, but have you forgotten about the person ranked 3rd on the minor honor board? Chen Zhen's pupils constricted, and his expression instantly turned ugly. The Heaven and Earth Honor Board was a ranking of the top experts in Tianshui continent. There were a total of 100 experts. In Lai Yunxiao's previous life, Gu Feiyang was ranked 3rd on the list. As for the minor honor board that Han Bai mentioned, it was a ranking created by Jialan Academy. Every year, it would be rearranged through a competition. The person ranked third was another direct descendant of the Lan family. He was Lan Fei's half-brother, Lan Xuan. Hanbai helplessly smiled bitterly. Lan Xuan is a student who is about to graduate this year. His strength is so strong that he has already begun to break through to the second stage of martial master. Furthermore, he was the leader of the Xuan gang. Even if he graduated, he wouldn't be able to do anything. Even if he graduates, as long as he gives the word, the experts in the Xuan gang will not dare to disobey. Chen Zhen also started to worry. Martial master, I'm afraid he can directly join the divine guards of the kingdom after graduation? How amazing. This Lan Xuan seems to be only 18 years old, right? Hanbai nodded his head solemnly. That's right. An 18-year-old martial master is considered a rare genius in Tianshui country. At this rate, it is not impossible for him to become a deputy commander of the divine guards in the future. Chen Zhen's face turned even uglier. He is a martial master. He won't come looking for trouble for such a small matter, right? Hanbai also echoed. He probably won't personally make a move. There is still a period of time before the holidays. I hope he can endure until he graduates. The corner of Lai Yunxiao's mouth curled up slightly. With a smile in his eyes, he said, "Don't worry, he will definitely come looking for me. Even if he doesn't come, I will go looking for him." He sneered in his heart. I am still waiting to use the 5-colored divine void stone on Lan Xuan. In an exquisite little building in the academy, Lan Fei roared furiously. "Uncle, this time I will not take this lying down." Wang Feng's eyes turned cold as he reprimanded. "Shut up! You idiot, you almost caused trouble. Fortunately, Lan Xuan is in seclusion. Otherwise, your mother's many years of nurturing would have gone to waste." Lan Fei was shocked. Then he said in disbelief, "How could it be so serious?" "I was just looking for Brother Xuan to teach that trash a lesson for me." Vent. HMPH. A trace of mockery flashed in Wang Feng's eyes. He sneered. "And you call him Brother Xuan so intimately? What a blockhead. So what if that trash from the Lai family is? You have to understand that your biggest enemy is Lan Xuan. Now that you have lost the family's keepsake, if Lan Xuan finds out, you will be reprimanded by the family and fall out of favor. At worst, you will lose your status as a direct descendant. It is not impossible for you to be demoted to a collateral relative." Lan Fei's face turned pale. He said fearfully, "Then what should I do? Uncle, you have to help me." Wang Feng narrowed his eyes and said seriously, "Don't worry. You are the biological son of my good sister. If I don't help you, who should I help? However, as a teacher of the academy, I cannot make a move on a student for no reason. Otherwise, I will not have a good ending. There are only 7 days left before the annual assessment of the beginner class. From what you said, that kid has not activated his chakra. At that time, I will apply to be the chief examiner for this assessment. If he cannot display the light of chakra, I will expel him according to the academy rules. At that time, when he leaves the academy, before he returns to the Lai family, it will be the time for us to make our move. At that time, we will take back the family keepsake. As for that trash, we can kill him at will." Lan Fei said angrily, "We still have to wait for 7 days. When I think of the humiliation I received that day, I want to skin him right now. Right, we must break his balls. HMPH, you can't even handle such a small setback. How can I expect you to accomplish anything big? I am really anxious for my sister. Compared to Lan Xuan, the gap is too big." Wang Feng said with a cold gaze. Lan Fei's face turned white. His nails dug into his flesh. He gritted his teeth and said, "All right, I will listen to Uncle. Let him jump around for another 7 days. However, don't think that he will have a good time in these 7 days. I have a way to ruin his reputation. When that time comes, I will need Uncle's cooperation." Wang Feng's eyes flashed with doubt. "Do you have any good ideas?" Lan Fei's face revealed a sinister smile as he whispered in Wang Feng's ear. Wang Feng was stunned for a moment. He then laughed. "Good. Do it. If you succeed, we won't have to wait for 7 days. No wonder you're the son of my good sister. Uncle has underestimated you before." "HM, who is sneaking around?" Lai Yunxiao, who was cultivating the divine evolution technique in his dormitory, suddenly frowned. His divine sense was far beyond that of an ordinary person. He immediately sensed that there were two people carefully hiding outside his dormitory. It was already late at night. Could it be a thief? It was common for wealthy students to have their belongings stolen in the academy. This was nothing new. This was especially true for wealthy students like him who had their own dormitories. They were the targets of thieves. Lai Yunxiao walked out and opened the door. Suddenly, a pink letter fell to the ground. To Yunxiao, 4 words were written in beautiful strokes. A faint pink fragrance wafted from it. Lai Yunxiao frowned. He tore open the envelope and saw that it was a love letter. There were only 4 lines of poetry on it. The moon rises above the willow tree. I meet behind the maple forest. Tonight, when the moon is full, I wish to be with you as before. Signed, Roland Duo. Chapter 13. Little Maple Forest was a sacred place for dating in the academy. Many men and women were entangled there. Lai Yunxiao squinted his eyes. That proud figure flashed across his mind. He smiled and moved towards Little Maple Forest in a flash. As soon as Lai Yunxiao left, 2 figures appeared in front of his dormitory. One of them took out a key and opened the door with a few knocks. The 2 entered dejectedly and came out after a few minutes. They locked the door carefully. There was nothing in their hands. They didn't look like thieves. Heh heh. Have you put everything away? This time I'll make this trash suffer the consequences. I'll take revenge for what happened last time. Young Master Fei is truly resourceful to be able to come up with such a scheme. I'm afraid that this brat's brain is currently filled with lust and has sunk into the fantasy of a date. HMPH. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? Roland is famous for being arrogant. Why would she like this trash? Stop talking. Let's go. We'll be watching a good show tonight. The 2 of them left quietly like a wisp of smoke, and Lai Yunxiao's figure instantly appeared at the door. Those 2 were the ones who came with Lan Fei last time. He recognized them at once. They snuck into his dormitory. He didn't know what they were up to. Lai Yunxiao smiled coldly. He pushed open the door to his room. Very quickly, he found something under his blanket. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. A large amount of women's underwear. They were colorful and fragrant. They were all stuffed under his blanket. Well done, Lan Fei. Lai Yunxiao looked at these things and naturally understood Lan Fei's plot. He said coldly, "Since you want to play dirty, I'll play with you." His eyes flashed and he quickly disappeared from the room. An hour later, Lai Yunxiao's figure could be seen running towards Little Maple Forest. Little Maple Forest covered an area of more than 100 acres. It was a beautiful scenery in Jialan Academy. During the day, it was a training ground for many students. During the night, it became a holy land for women, especially during this dark and windy season when the weather was cool. Not everyone could afford to live in a single dormitory. Most students lived in a dormitory with 4 or even 8 people. Thus, Little Maple Forest had become a holy land in their hearts. As soon as Lai Yunxiao stepped in, he used his divine sense and discovered more than 30 couples moaning and moaning. Some of them couldn't help but make all kinds of big movements, and all kinds of sounds of ecstasy came from them. Ah, help, help, Tilda, a soft cry could be heard. The voice was not loud, but it just reached Lai Yunxiao's ears. Under the moonlight, a young girl with a veil covering her body ran out of the forest. Her face was full of fear. Her clothes had already been torn, revealing her fair skin. Under the moonlight, she appeared especially alluring. Coupled with the fear on her beautiful face, it was enough to make one feel tender affection for her. "Stop right there. You little slut, it's your fortune that I like you." Behind her, a nobleman dressed in luxurious clothes rushed out with a face full of anger and malevolence. He reached out to grab the woman. "Senior, save me." When the woman saw Lai Yunxiao, it was as if she had seen her savior. Her face was full of joy. She quickly ran forward and wanted to get close to him. Whoosh! A large sword streaked across the sky and stood upright in Lai Yunxiao's hand. The tip of the sword was pointed at the woman's throat. A cold voice came from Lai Yunxiao's throat. "Stop if you don't want to die." The woman was stunned. She was obviously surprised, but she quickly said anxiously, "Senior, save me. Someone wants to molest me." Pearl-sized teardrops rolled down the woman's cheeks. She cried pitifully, The tears of a beauty were even more pitiful. "I beg you. As long as you save me once, I will promise you anything. When one was young, one's blood and Kai were not stable. One must guard against lust." Any young man who saw such a scene would be unable to control himself and want to be the hero saving the beauty. However, Lai Yunxiao's face was as calm as ever. Under the moonlight, there was no trace of emotion. He closed his eyes slightly, and the sword was still pointed at the woman's throat. How could he have such a heart of stone? "Kid, if you don't want to die, then get lost. This girl is already this young master's woman." The man behind her caught up and grabbed the woman's shoulder. He pulled hard. Rip Tilda, more than half of the veil was torn off. Her half-naked, milky white breasts were exposed. It was a tempting sight. There was a dark red claw mark on her shoulder. It was a pitiful sight. "Senior, I beg you, save me." The girl cried like a pear blossom in the rain. She was dragged on the ground by the man. At this moment, the man's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. He seemed to be at a loss. Then he revealed a fierce look and shouted, "Kid, get out of my sight. Young master is about to do something. Save me, save me." The girl's pained voice came from the ground. It was heartbreaking. Lai Yunxiao opened his eyes slightly and smiled. "Don't worry, baby, I will save you soon." The girl's eyes lit up. She struggled to get up from the ground. She couldn't care less about covering her snow-white skin. She jogged towards Lai Yunxiao. At this time, the man couldn't help but show a hint of joy in his eyes. He pretended to be fierce. "Kid, you dare to steal a woman from this young master. Do you know who I am? I am Liu Yishan, the son of the commander of the Imperial Guards, Liu Siki." "Oh, so it's Liu Yishan." Lai Yunxiao suddenly turned to the girl and smiled. "When I said to save you, it's not me, but them." "Huh, them?" The girl and the man were stunned. Suddenly, a group of people came out of the forest and surrounded the three of them. Chen Zhen, who was the leader, roared, "Liu Tianyi, how dare you do such a heartless thing? Teacher Feng, you saw what happened just now. This kid is a beast." When more than 10 people appeared, Liu Yishan suddenly knew something was wrong. He knew he was in trouble when he heard Chen Zhen shout, "Teacher Feng." He was so scared that his legs turned to jelly. He looked carefully under the moonlight. The middle-aged man in the lead was so angry that his hair was standing on end. It was the dean of the school, nicknamed God of Slaughter, Feng Buping. Tilda. He was so scared that he took a few steps back and fell on his butt. What happened? How could this be? Not only him, but the girl was also completely dumbfounded. Even Lan, Fei, and the others who were hiding in the dark, ready to rush out at any time, were dumbfounded. Why was the dean here? "Liu Yishan, you beast?" Feng Buping's figure flashed. Everyone only saw a blur before they heard a fierce slap. Liu Yishan screamed as he was sent flying. "We can't let this beast go. Everyone, let's beat him to death. Beat Liu Yishan, this hooligan who raped his junior." Hanbai roared. Everyone in the forest was alarmed. Many people's auras were gathering in their direction. Chen Zhen was the first to rush over with more than 10 people. At the place where Liu Yishan's slap landed, a wave of beating and heart-wrenching screams could be heard. "Are you all right?" Feng Buping asked the girl, "What's your name? Why are you with this beast?" The girl was also completely dumbfounded. She didn't know how to answer. I'm Meng Wu, this. Darling, don't be afraid. Look at how scared you are. You are covered in cold sweat." Lai Yunxiao smiled and pulled Meng Wu into his arms. "With Big Brother here, no one will dare to bully you." He rubbed Meng Wu's small waist with one hand. No matter how hard she struggled, she couldn't escape. His other hand began to grope all over her body without the slightest scruple. Meng Wu's clothes were already torn. Lai Yunxiao's hand quickly slid in and rubbed between her breasts, feeling extremely good. You! Meng Wu was so anxious that her face turned red. She was pulled into Lai Yunxiao's arms, and her body blocked Feng Buping's line of sight. She didn't dare to shout and could only struggle with all her might. However, the other party's strength was surprisingly great. No matter how much strength she used, she couldn't break free. A strange feeling came from the 2 peaks on her chest, and the 2 dark red spots were rubbed until her whole body was numb, and it was as if they were about to collapse. Woo. She couldn't hold it in anymore. This time she really started to sob, and her whole body couldn't stop trembling. Feng Buping thought that she was mentally injured and comforted her. Don't be afraid. With me here, I will definitely uphold justice for you. This time, it was fortunate that Lai Yunxiao sent someone to report in time. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Yunxiao, take care of Meng Wu here. I'll go take a look at that beast. Why is there no sound? He couldn't have been beaten to death by those people, right? Lai Yunxiao was enjoying himself with one hand, and he said with a smile, Teacher Feng, you go. I will take care of Meng Wu so you don't have to worry. Meng Wu's whole body trembled, and she shouted in her heart, Don't go, Teacher Feng, don't go. However, the strange thing was that she couldn't say anything. She could only cry. Feng Buping nodded and walked toward Liu Yishan. There were already dozens of people surrounding them, and they were all pointing at them. Meng Wu was a virgin, after all. How could she withstand Lai Yunxiao's invasion? Her whole mind had already gone blank, and she was completely powerless on his body, letting him do whatever he wanted. Moreover, the previous feeling of shame and anger had gradually turned into a strange feeling of pleasure. She even started to moan softly. Lan Fei and the others who were hiding in the forest were all at a loss. Du Feng said angrily, So it was Lai Yunxiao's doing. Boss, what should we do now? Let's go and save Liu Yishan, or he will really be beaten to death. Save your head. Lan Fei slapped his head and said angrily, Stupid pig, isn't going to walk right into a trap if we go out now. We can only sacrifice Liu Yishan. With Feng Buping here, he won't die. His eyes were almost spitting fire, and he turned to the other two people and said, Have you put the things away? Under the moonlight, the two people were the young men who had snuck into Lai Yunxiao's dormitory to store the women's underwear. They nodded vigorously and said, They've all been put away. We will do it, don't worry, boss. Lan Fei's eyes flashed with a hint of malevolence, and he said, Lai Yunxiao, I let you escape this disaster, but let's see how you deal with the next one. Lai Yunxiao looked in the direction that Lan Fei had disappeared, and a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Meng Wu had completely given up resisting. Her whole body was burning hot under Lai Yunxiao's rubbing. What made her even more ashamed and angry was that there was a wet feeling down there, and she wanted to find a wall and smash her head into it. Chapter 14. All of you stop. Feng Buping's voice came from afar. Very quickly, everyone retreated. Hanbai gave Lai Yunxiao a look. When Lai Yunxiao saw that everyone had come over, he did not want to take advantage of Meng Wu anymore. He reluctantly withdrew his hand and hugged Meng Wu. He said gently, Don't be afraid, everything is fine now. That hoodlum is completely crippled. Meng Wu was so angry that her entire body was trembling. However, she did not have any strength left. Moreover, in front of so many people, she could only bury her head in Lai Yunxiao's chest in shame and resentment. Feng Buping walked over with Liu Yishan in his arms, his face ashen. He spat out two words, crippled? Lai Yunxiao looked at Liu Yishan, who was like mud in his arms. He had long lost his human form. What was even more shocking was that his lower body was a bloody mess. It was a chilling sight to behold. Lai Yunxiao looked at Hanbai. His gaze seemed to be saying, How ruthless. Hanbai glared at him as if replying, Didn't I learn it from you? Feng Buping said in a low voice, All of you go back. I will report what happened here to the dean. Liu Yishan reaped what he sowed. He can't blame anyone. He glanced at Meng Wu in Lai Yunxiao's arms and frowned. It's not appropriate for you to carry her. Do any of you know her? He turned to look at the dozens of people who had gathered. Many of them were women. They were the wild couples who had sex in Little Maple Forest. Many of the women shyly lowered their heads. Suddenly, a woman in red, Zhu Feifei, exclaimed, It's Meng Wu. Her eyes revealed a strange look. I'm in the same dormitory as her. Feng Buping nodded. Then send her back. If anything happens, contact me at any time. Lai Yunxiao reluctantly handed Meng Wu to Liu Feifei. When he let go, he did not forget to ruthlessly pinch her butt. Meng Wu shyly moaned. Her eyes opened, and the anger that burst out was enough to burn Little Maple Forest to ashes. Baby, don't be afraid. You're safe now. Lai Yunxiao took off his outer robe and covered Meng Wu's body with a look of concern. When his finger slid across her chest, he gently touched her cherry. Meng Wu's body trembled, and she finally couldn't hold it in anymore. She burst into tears. Everyone thought that she was afraid of being bullied by Liu Yishan. Liu Feifei also gratefully said to Lai Yongxiao, "Thank you, you are really a good person." She hugged Liu Feifei tightly and said, "Mengwu, I am Liu Feifei, don't be afraid." Lai Yongxiao smiled gently and said, "There's no need to thank me. Junior sister is in trouble, so it's only right for me to lend a helping hand. Remember to look for me if you need anything." Now that the matter was over, those wild teams of Mandarin ducks were no longer in the mood. A group of people formed a group and left the little maple forest. Suddenly, there was the sound of gongs and drums in front of them, and it was very lively. Suddenly, a large number of students surged over. There were quite a few female students, and all of them had righteous indignation written all over their faces. The leader was Lan Fei. Feng Buping frowned and said in a low voice, "What's going on?" "So it's Teacher Feng, you are here too." "That's great," Lan Fei said with righteous indignation. "There's a thief in the academy, and it's an extremely perverted thief. A large number of female students' undergarments have been stolen." Everyone was shocked. What? Stealing girls' undergarments, so perverted? For a moment, everyone was in an uproar, and they were all extremely angry. Especially those female students, they all started cursing at the same time. Feng Buping frowned and swept his gaze across the crowd. Suddenly, his gaze froze. "Princess, you are here too." Qin Ruxu's face was slightly hot, and her eyes were filled with anger. "I also lost something." "Teacher Feng, you must find this perverted thief." Someone saw the thief running in the direction of the little maple forest. A sinister smile flashed across Lan Fei's face as he said coldly. Finally, his gaze landed on Lai Yongxiao, and he was extremely pleased. "Haha, Lai Yongxiao, you trash, just wait for your death." Lai Yongxiao suddenly said strangely, "So many female students lost their undergarments. What does this have to do with you, Lan Fei?" "Huh? Yes, what does it have to do with you?" Suddenly, all the female students revealed a look of surprise, and they all looked at Lan Fei. This usually cold and indifferent young man, why was he acting like he was on steroids today? Lan Fei was stunned, and he was at a loss for words. I. A quick-witted boy at the side hurriedly said, "Boss can't stand it anymore. Stop, lead everyone to catch the thief." "Yes, I'm leading everyone to catch the thief." Someone saw the thief running in the direction of the little maple forest. Lan Fei's aura instantly rose, and he said proudly, "As a member of the academy, this is my duty and responsibility." Lai Yongxiao looked as if he suddenly understood. "Oh, so that's how it is. May I ask who saw the thief running in this direction?" "It was me, what's wrong?" The quick-witted boy immediately stood up. He was one of the two people who sneaked into Lai Yongxiao's dormitory. "My name is Meng Kun, I saw it. Do you have a problem with that?" He purposely raised his head, wanting to show off his power. Although they knew that Lai Yongxiao was powerful, with Feng Buping around, no one dared to do anything rash. Lai Yongxiao smiled faintly. "No problem, I'm just curious. That thief stole all the clothes of the female students. Why didn't the female students notice, but you, a male student, did? Also, if you saw it, why didn't you lead everyone to catch the thief, but asked your master to lead everyone to catch the thief?" Meng Kun was also stunned. This question was really hard to answer. Everyone was also confused, and they all stared at him, and immediately, cold sweat the size of beans dripped down. Lan Fei suddenly shouted angrily, "Lai Yongxiao, what do you mean by this? Could it be that you have a guilty conscience? I think that the thief was most likely you." "Yes." Now that boss mentioned it, I also remembered that the figure of the thief is very similar to this boy. Meng Kun hurriedly added. Lai Yongxiao secretly laughed. "It's finally here," he leisurely said. "Young Master Fei, you are slandering me. What is your intention?" Lan Fei smiled coldly and said, "In order to prove your innocence, we should let everyone search your dormitory. If not, you can't escape the suspicion today." Lai Yongxiao coldly snorted. "Who do you think you are to search just because you say so?" Qin Ruxu's expression also changed, as if she realized something, and said, "I also believe that Yongxiao is not such a person, Meng Kun. Did you really see it clearly?" Meng Kun saw that the princess's gaze was like a knife piercing towards him, and he was so scared that his whole body was drenched in cold sweat. Lying was a crime of deceiving the emperor. A light punishment would be death. A heavy punishment would be the execution of 9 generations. He was just a disciple of a small power that depended on the Lan family. How would he dare to deceive the emperor? But in an instant, he felt Lan Fei's gloomy gaze, and he was so scared that he shivered, and hurriedly said, "I saw it clearly, I saw it clearly. It must be Lai Yunxiao." Lan Fei was in a good mood and said, "Ha ha, Lai Yunxiao, what else do you have to say?" Lai Yunxiao slightly nodded at Feng Buping and said, "Teacher Feng, you can search my dormitory if you want. But if I can prove my innocence, I want Lan Fei to give me an explanation." Feng Buping did not say a word from beginning to end. He also felt that something was wrong, so he quietly observed the situation and looked at Lan Fei with the intention of asking for advice. Lan Fei resolutely said, "Sure. If you can prove your innocence, I will naturally give you an explanation." Lai Yunxiao nodded and said, "In that case, I also believe that Teacher Feng is fair and just." Qin Ruxu's eyes revealed a look of worry, and Lai Yunxiao slightly shook his head and said in a serious tone, "Princess, don't worry, there is righteousness in this world. I, Lai Yunxiao, am an open and above-board person. I do not believe that evil can triumph over good." As he said this in a clear voice, all the female students began to contemplate and began to eliminate their suspicions of him. After all, a person with a guilty conscience would not have such confidence. Behind him, Meng Wu saw his righteous and awe-inspiring appearance and was so angry that her whole body trembled, but she could not say anything. Qin Ruxu fiercely gritted her teeth and also stomped her feet. "You idiot! There is clearly something strange about this matter. The other party must be deliberately framing you, pig head." Lai Yunxiao pretended not to hear and loudly said, "Everyone, please move to my dormitory to prove that I, Lai Yunxiao, am innocent." A group of people under the lead of Lai Yunxiao majestically moved towards the dormitory. Along the way, many students heard the gossip, and one by one, they also joined in, and in a short period of time, more than 100 people had gathered. Teacher Wang, why are you also here?" Lai Yunxiao coldly looked at Wang Feng, who was standing in front of his dormitory, as well as a few other school teachers. All of them were from the teaching office. Wang Feng did not seem to be fully awake and lazily said, "I heard that there is a perverted thief, and the matter has become too big. I have no choice but to come out and see what is going on." Headmaster Feng, you are also here." Feng Buping frowned. With his experience, he naturally knew that there was definitely a problem. Lai Yunxiao leisurely sneered, "See, why are you looking at my dormitory's door? Didn't Meng Kun say that the thief ran in the direction of Little Maple Forest? Teacher Wang is really easy. Even the energy of walking back and forth a few times is also saved." Everyone could hear the hidden meaning in Lai Yunxiao's words, and everyone could hear it. Feng Buping's face turned cold and finally could not help but ask in a deep voice, "Wang Feng, what is going on?" Wang Feng lightly snorted and coldly said, "He is here to catch the thief, just like Teacher Feng. This thief is so perverted and arrogant, I suggest that after we catch him, we directly expel him, lest he brings harm to the students." Feng Buping's face changed at this time, if he still could not see the problem. Then he would be an idiot and immediately said angrily, "Catching the thief is not a problem, but if anyone dares to play tricks in front of me and wrongly accuse an innocent person, I will not allow it." He was known as the god of slaughter by the students. In addition to being strict in enforcing the law, he was also impartial and strict. Wang Feng tit for tat, said, "Of course it has to be fair and just so that everyone will be convinced. When the time comes, the thief will be caught red-handed, and I will directly report to the dean." Feng Buping's position was above him, but as long as the thief was caught red-handed, he could bring out the dean and no one would be able to do anything. Lai Yunxiao acted as if he did not know the meaning of death and sternly said, "Since Teacher Wang is also so fair, then I can rest assured. I hope everyone can testify for me." He took out his key, opened his door, and gestured with his hand, saying, "Please feel free to search." Wang Feng's eyes narrowed, looking at Lai Yunxiao's calm expression, thinking to himself, could it be that there is some secret? He glanced at Lan Fei, and seeing that Lan Fei was brimming with confidence, he finally relaxed and said, "Go in and search." Chapter 15. A few teachers and some students immediately rushed in. Lai Yunxiao and Feng Buping also strode into the living room. They looked pleased as they sat on the chairs, staring coldly at Lan Fei. A few minutes later, Lan Fei couldn't sit still anymore. He had seen a few students enter the bedroom, but they came out empty-handed. He cursed Meng Kun in his mind for hiding things so well. "Meng Kun, go and help search." Meng Kun nodded. He pretended to walk around the living room a few times and then went to the bedroom. Feng Buping looked at Meng Kun coldly. "If anyone dares to frame me, I will be the first to fire him." Qin Ruxu was also angry. "I will go and take a look." She followed Meng Kun without saying anything. She was sure that there was something behind the scenes. If Meng Kun really found something, she could stop him in time. Wang Feng smiled coldly. "Since everyone is worried, why don't we go and take a look together?" He stepped forward and followed the princess. This immediately stopped Qin Ruxu's idea. "Since everyone is so interested in my bedroom, let's go and take a look." Lai Yunxiao took the lead. Immediately, a few dozen people squeezed into the bedroom. At this time, Meng Kun was the first to go in. After searching a few times, his face turned pale. He instantly understood why Lai Yunxiao was so fearless. Where was the hidden underwear? Lan Fei came in at the same time. He sneered. "Meng Kun, look carefully, don't miss any place." Meng Kun was covered in cold sweat. He trembled as he walked to Lan Fei and whispered in his ear. "What?" Lan Fei's expression changed drastically. His angry roar scared everyone to the core. He looked like he wanted to eat someone. Meng Kun's legs trembled. Lai Yunxiao sneered. "Meng Kun, your master asked you to search carefully. Why are you still standing here?" Wang Feng finally realized something was wrong. A trace of anger flashed in his eyes. He said coldly, "This bedroom is not big. I don't think there is anything to search. It seems that Lai Yunxiao is innocent. The thief is someone else." Feng Buping glanced at him coldly, then looked at Lai Yunxiao meaningfully. Qin Ruxu breathed a sigh of relief, but she was secretly angry. He clearly had a well-thought-out plan, making me worry for half a day in vain, seeing that his plan had failed. Wang Feng was no longer in the mood to stay. He calmly said, "Since student Lai Yunxiao is innocent, then everyone can go back." "Go back?" Lai Yunxiao shouted and sneered. "Teacher Wang just said that the thief is someone else. Are we not going to catch him?" Wang Feng was taken aback. He coldly said, "The student body is so big and we don't have any witnesses or evidence. It will be hard to find them in a short time. The school will handle this matter." Lai Yunxiao sneered and said, "Who said there are no witnesses? Didn't Meng Kun see it with his own eyes? Could it be that Meng Kun was lying? If that's the case, I really have to suspect that the owner of this dog, Lan Fei, is the mastermind." Lan Fei was already flustered and exasperated. He was burning with anger. "Lai Yunxiao, don't you dare slander me." Lai Yunxiao's face turned cold. He coldly said, "You have proven my innocence. Now it's your turn to give me an explanation." Lan Fei angrily said, "What do you want?" Lai Yunxiao sneered, "It's simple. I will also search your dormitory to prove your innocence. Of course, I am not doubting the righteous young Master Fei. I just can't take it lying down. HMPH, since I said I would give you an explanation, I will naturally keep my word. If you want to search, then I will let you search." Lan Fei said with a righteous face, "But Lai Yunxiao, this matter is not over." The private dormitories of the rich and powerful were all in the same area. Soon they arrived at Lan Fei's dormitory. Lan Fei generously opened the door and coldly said, "Search however you want, but if you damage my things, I'm afraid you poor bastards won't be able to pay for it." Lai Yunxiao smiled and waved his hand. Chen Zhen and Han Bai immediately entered. Wang Feng's face gradually darkened. He seemed to feel that something was wrong. Sure enough, Han Bai and Chen Zhen quickly came out with a wooden box. They said loudly, "Young Master Yun, this box can't be opened?" Lan Fei frowned and coldly said, "This is the box where I store my personal clothes." Only my own key can open it. He took out a golden key from the ring and inserted it directly into the lock. With a click, the lock was unlocked and the box was opened with a creak. Everyone looked inside, and in an instant, all of them were stunned. Wang Feng's pupils shrank. He felt his mind go blank. There really is a conspiracy. It's over. Lan Fei was completely dumbfounded. His eyes widened like bronze bells. He muttered to himself, "How is this possible? No, I didn't do it. This is slander. Lai Yunxiao, you framed me." He roared crazily, "Framed you?" Lai Yunxiao smiled faintly. "You just said that this is your personal box. Without your own key, you can't open it." "You!" Lan Fei was so angry that his whole body was trembling. "So it's you, you beast?" Qin Ruxu saw that half of her pure white underwear was exposed in the box. She was so ashamed that she kicked Lan Fei and said angrily, "You pervert! I will definitely get the dean to expel you. Expel, expel." Almost all the girls shouted angrily. Soon the boys joined in as well. For a moment, the sound of expel spread throughout the academy. Chen Zhen casually rummaged through the box. Suddenly, he said in surprise, "Hey, other than normal girls' underwear, why is there half a box of soap?" Hanbai laughed coldly. "Hee hee, you don't know. I heard that besides being a pervert, Lan Fei also likes to throw soap in the boys' bathhouse and force his subordinates to pick it up." "Wow, that's disgusting." Many of the boys turned pale. They couldn't help but bend over and start vomiting. Some of the male students beside Lan Fei were so scared that they jumped away, creating an empty space in front of them. Lan Fei was so angry that his head was dizzy. He pointed his index finger at Lai Yunxiao and couldn't stop trembling. There was a breath in his chest, and he couldn't say a word. Lai Yunxiao said in a righteous and loud voice, "Seniors, juniors, everything is clear now. Not only did Lan Fei steal girls' underwear, but he also often forces students to pick up soap in the boys' bathhouse. He deserves to die, but a country has its laws and a family has its rules. Although we are filled with righteous indignation and want to tear him to pieces, the Academy's teachers are here. Let Mr. Feng and Mr. Wang handle this fairly." "Deal with it fairly," Chen Zhen immediately shouted. Immediately, the entire school shouted in unison, "Deal with it fairly." Feng Buping looked at Lai Yunxiao in surprise. He didn't expect this good-for-nothing martial arts cultivator to be so scheming. He immediately said in a low voice, "Don't worry, everyone. I will report this to the dean immediately. When the time comes, I will definitely give everyone a satisfactory explanation." Qin Ruxu also said angrily, "Don't worry, sisters. If the Academy still allows this perverted beast to live, we will all go to the dean together. If that doesn't work, we will go to my father. In any case, this perverted beast and I are irreconcilable." "Yes, irreconcilable." Some of the girls who had their underwear stolen said angrily. Lan Fei was really panicking now. He hurriedly pulled on Wang Feng and said, "Uncle, uncle, save me." HMP. Wang Feng flung his hand away and said coldly, "Mud can't help a wall." He directly separated the crowd and left Lan Fei behind. Under such circumstances, he was powerless to turn the situation around. If he continued to stay, he might even be dragged into it. Tilda. Lan Fei collapsed to the ground under the public's condemnation. Soon, the Academy's decision was out. Lan Fei had stolen a girl's clothes. The Academy's leaders unanimously decided to expel him and never accept him again. Young Master Yun, young Master Yun. Hanbai rushed over early in the morning. "I have 2 pieces of news, one good and one bad. Which one do you want to hear first?" Lai Yunxiao had a leisurely look on his face. "The good news is that Lan Fei has been expelled. The bad news," Hanbai gave him a thumbs up. "You really are a prophet." "The bad news is that the examiner this year is Lan Fei's uncle, Wang Feng. We're finished this time. We can forget about passing." Lai Yunxiao sneered. "Finished what? If he doesn't know what's good for him, I'll kick him out with Lan Fei." Hanbai was stunned. "Young Master Yun, you're so domineering, but don't you dare mess around. Wang Feng is an academy teacher, not a student like Lan Fei." "HMPH, I don't care what he's like. Is there any movement from Lan Xuan?" Lai Yunxiao suddenly asked. "Lan Xuan." Hanbai's face paled. "If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten." Lan Xuan has already spread the news that he will avenge his brother. This is really troublesome. Oh, Lai Yunxiao smiled lightly. His eyes narrowed slightly. That's good. He was still thinking about the 5-colored divine void stone on Lan Xuan. After sending Han Bai away, he carried his heavy sword and headed for the gravity room. While Lan Fei was being expelled, an intense exam was being conducted on the 4th floor of the Arcane Artificers Guild Tower. Luo Yunsheng stared at the giant battle axe floating in the void with a solemn expression on her face. It had been tempered by the true fire and had already turned a scarlet red. Waves of heat radiated from it, spreading in all directions. Other than Luo Yunsheng, who was standing in the center, who was already drenched, the men sitting around her seemed unaffected. They only focused on the changes to the battle axe. The waves of heat rippled out layer by layer, but when they came within a few feet of them, they seemed to be blocked by an invisible force. Luo Yunsheng suddenly spread open her palm. A sky full of golden dust sprinkled out and landed around the battle axe like specks of starlight. Sizzling sounds could be heard. As soon as the battle axe came into contact with the surrounding brilliant gold dust, its color became even brighter. It seemed to be a little unstable as it let out a series of rumbling sounds. The temperature of the entire space rose to another level. Astonishment flashed through the eyes of the surrounding men. Some of them even began whispering to each other. Chapter 16. A light flashed through Luo Yunsheng's eyes. Despite the exhaustion on her face, she couldn't hide her excitement. She immediately formed a few hand seals on her fingertips, transforming them into streams of primordial fire that flew into the axe. Suddenly, a suction force was generated from the battle axe, which swallowed the scattered golden dust. For a moment, the bright red axe emitted a steady and heavy aura. It gave people a feeling as if a mountain was pressing down on them. Condense! Fall! Luo Yunsheng called out twice. 2 rays of light flew from her fingertips into the axe. Immediately, the burning sensation disappeared without a trace. The axe's body rapidly shrunk until it turned into a mini-axe that fell into Luo Yunsheng's hand. Luo Yunsheng examined the axe in her hand and happily walked toward the men. She handed the axe to the white-bearded old man in the middle and said respectfully, "Grandmaster Zhu, please take a look." Zhu Han glanced at the axe and smiled. "There's no need to look. This sun-rumbling axe has reached the level of a high-rank 1 profound artifact. Yunsheng, you've passed the test." Clap, 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 clap. The other men applauded as they looked at Luo Yunsheng with a smile. Their eyes were filled with admiration. Luo Yunsheng was overjoyed. She couldn't contain her excitement. "Thank you, Grandmaster Zhu and the other Grandmasters." Zhu Han shook his head and smiled. "It's all your hard work. It has nothing to do with us. I'm just curious how you managed to merge the brilliant gold into the scarlet refined copper. You failed the last few tests." The other men quieted down and looked at Luo Yunsheng in confusion. The image of Lai Yunxiao's young face and elegant voice flashed through Luo Yunsheng's mind. Scarlet refined copper may be metal, but it leans towards fire. Southern fire suppresses western metal, so brilliant gold is highly soluble. Hence, many arcane raffiners preferred to use brilliant gold when upgrading crimson refined copper Xuan weapons. But if it contains heaven crystal sand, it will be completely different. Because the heaven crystal sand's element is water, it can neutralize the crimson smelted copper's fire element. So the more of it there is, the weaker the brilliant gold's ability to dissolve. It's very simple. Treat the heaven crystal sand as impurities and use the quenching essence to remove them. So that's how it is. Zhu Han suddenly understood. It's actually this simple. Yunsheng, the fact that you were able to discover the secret behind it shows that you're very intelligent. Our Aquaski nation has gained another true alchemist. I'll have someone report this to His Majesty tomorrow. I'm sure His Majesty will be very happy. When the time comes, we will hold another banquet to celebrate with the officials." Luo Yunsheng blushed slightly, but she had expended too much of her soul power and vitality. Her cheeks were already covered in sweat, which made her look even more alluring. "I'll have to trouble Grandmaster Zhu to inform His Majesty that we can forget about the banquet. I don't like to be too ostentatious." Behind Zhu Han, Yan Lei smiled. "This is a joyous occasion. How can we forget about holding a banquet?" "Yun Shang, you're the #1 rising star in our Aquaski nation. In just 3 short years, His Majesty has held 2 banquets for you. In the past few hundred years, only Lord Yang Dai has had such an honor. In the Aquaski nation, the king would hold a banquet and invite the important officials of the nation to celebrate as long as one became a rank 1 warrior rank alchemist or a 3-point martial grandmaster. At the same time, they would be conferred the title of Marquis and Minister. When Luo Yunsheng broke through to 3-point martial grandmaster 3 years ago, she held a banquet once. Hearing Yan Lei's words, Luo Yunsheng hurriedly said, "Grandmaster Yan, you're too serious. If I can be compared to Lord Yang Dai on Weibo." Zhu Han stroked his beard and chuckled. "You don't have to be so modest. Although Lord Yang Dai is a heaven-defying genius, he also benefited greatly from being a disciple of a 9th-tier emperor-level alchemist, Lord Gu Feiyang. How fortunate is this? If you have the opportunity in the future, your achievements might not lose to Lord Yang Dai. You lost because you didn't have a good teacher." Seeing that Luo Yunsheng still wanted to argue, Zhu Han waved his hand and smiled. "Our alchemist guild needs to celebrate today. This year, we've gained 2 warrior rank alchemists. You and Jia Rong are the rising stars of our Aquaski nation branch." Another alchemist, Su Yuan Kiao, suddenly snorted. "President Zhu, I would agree if Yun Shang is a rising star. As for Jia Rong, if I'm not wrong, he's already poisoned." Everyone was shocked, and their faces were filled with confusion. Zhu Han's expression also changed slightly. "Su Yuan Kiao, what do you mean?" A strange look flashed through Luo Yunshang's eyes. She said, "Grandmaster Zhu, I'll take my leave first." She was very smart. Seeing that Su Yuan Kiao's expression was off, she knew that there must be some secret involved, so she took the initiative to leave. Zhu Han shook his head. "Now that you've passed the test, you're an official warrior rank alchemist. In other words, you're a core member of our alchemist guild. You have the right to know anything about the guild. There's no need to avoid it." Su Yuan Kiao swept his gaze across the crowd and sneered. "I've already found out that Jia Rong cheated during the last test. He used a forbidden item, chilling wind stone." Everyone's expression changed drastically. They all looked at each other. They were all alchemists, so they naturally knew what chilling wind stone was. Yan Lei said with a serious expression, "Su Yuan Kiao, you can't say things like that. I know you've always disliked Jia Rong. You've made things difficult for him many times when he was still an apprentice, but some crimes can't be casually pinned on someone." Su Yuan Kiao sneered. "I casually pinned on him? I'm afraid the poison has already seeped into his bones. I've sent people to investigate the materials he's bought since his promotion. They're all antidote items. He's even privately buying antidote pills at high prices. Everyone should know what the antidote pill is, right? It's rumored to be a level 4 alchemy pill that can cure hundreds of poisons. It's hard to find even with money. 5 days ago, he started buying all kinds of poisonous materials. After hurrying back, he's been in seclusion since then. He must have been desperate and decided to use poison to fight poison. But how can the poison of chilling wind stone be so easily cured? Even the antidote pill won't work. I'm guessing he's completely crippled by now." Zhu Han's expression gradually turned ugly. Su Yuan Kiao took out a list and handed it to everyone, saying, "This is a record of his actions after becoming an arcane alchemist. Everyone can take a look." Everyone skimmed through the list, their eyes filled with worry. Finally, the list was passed to Luo Yunsheng. Her heart trembled slightly. It even recorded Jia Rong's 3 meals a day. It seemed that Su Yuan Kiao had been thinking about it for a long time. Since he jumped out at this time, he must be very confident. Jia Rong would probably not be able to escape. If anyone still has doubts, you can call Jia Rong over to take a look. He's been in the tower ever since he came back 5 days ago and hasn't taken a single step out. Su Yuan Kiao couldn't help but feel proud when he saw that most people believed him. "HMPH, you know he's not in seclusion?" Yan Lei's eyes flashed with anger. He and Su Yuan Kiao had always been at loggerheads. Su Yuanqiao sneered. Ever since Jia Rong became an alchemist, he gave up on martial cultivation and focused on the path of alchemy. An alchemist's cultivation is mainly to nourish their soul power. The only way to strengthen their soul power is through continuous refining. He's a level 1 warrior rank alchemist. 5 days is more than enough for him to refine anything. Yan Lei, you're so protective of Jia Rong. Could it be that you're involved in his use of the chilling wind stone? Yan Lei flew into a rage. Nonsense! Zhu Han said in a deep voice, stop arguing. Jiang Cheng, bring Jia Rong here. No matter what he's doing, he has to come. Zhu Han was the president of the Aquasky Nation's Alchemist Association. He was also one of the only 2/3 rank alchemists in the Aquasky Nation. His status was no lower than the king's. The other 3rd rank alchemist was the palace's chief alchemist, Zhang Qingfen. Both of them were equally matched. An alchemist wasn't just a symbol of strength. It was also a symbol of noble status. It was the pride of all alchemists. As the president of the Alchemist Association, he would never allow fraud to happen. Everyone's expression turned serious. They seemed to realize that a small storm was coming, soon. Jia Rong followed Jiang Cheng to the 4th floor where the qualification test was held. After he bowed to Zhu Han, he nodded to everyone else. When his gaze swept past Su Yuanqiao, an almost imperceptible smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. In the end, his gaze landed on Luo Yunshang and he praised. I just heard from Jiang Cheng that Lady Luo Yunshang has also become a rank 1 warrior-level arcane refiner. She is truly a genius. Among the 5 commanders of the Guardian Divine Guard, Lady Yunshang is the strongest. Luo Yunshang nodded. Lord Jia is too kind. The other 4 commanders are far stronger than Yunshang. I was just lucky. Jia Rong smiled faintly and said loudly, President Zhu, I'm currently refining in seclusion. May I know why you've summoned me? Is it to celebrate Yunshang's breakthrough? A trace of doubt flashed through Su Yuanqiao's eyes. According to his speculations, Jia Rong's complexion shouldn't be this good. He coldly snorted, HMPH, Jia Rong, you sure know how to act. You're still pretending to be fine even at a time like this? Zhu Han took out the list and threw it over. She stared at Jia Rong and said word by word. Su Yuanqiao suspects that you used the sinister wind stone during the last test. This is the result of his investigation on you. I need you to give everyone an explanation. Jia Rong coldly snorted. He took the list and looked at it. An indescribable anger immediately rose in his chest. This old bastard, he actually sent someone to investigate me. At the same time, he broke out in a cold sweat. Thank goodness young Master Yun cured the poison in my body and taught me the art of soul refinement. Otherwise, my reputation would have been completely ruined. At that moment, his gratitude towards Lai Yunxiao gushed out like a fountain. Su Yuanqiao, you old bastard, you should be the one to give me an explanation. He threw the paper heavily on the ground and said angrily, President, everyone can check if I have used the sinister wind stone or not. But if I haven't, I need old man Su to give me an explanation. Zhu Han nodded. I will. Now stretch out your hands and completely withdraw your divine sense. We will thoroughly investigate your body. Su Yuanqiao sneered. Explanation. Let's see how you die once we find out what's wrong with you. Jia Rong suddenly smiled and proudly raised his head. I, Jia Rong, will sit upright. You can investigate however you want. Come. He shook his arcane refiner robe and stretched out his pure white hands. Chapter 17. Everyone's eyes flashed with doubt. That pair of hands were as white as jade, without any signs of corrosion. Furthermore, looking at his fearless appearance, could it be that Su Yuanqiao had wrongly accused him? Su Yuanqiao's heart was also shaken at this moment. His eyes widened as he looked at that pair of arms. Suddenly, a bad feeling surged up. How is this possible? How can you cure the poison of the yin wind stone? His eyes suddenly focused, and he suddenly released his divine sense. I want to thoroughly investigate your body. Even if you can cure the poison of the yin wind stone, your soul power is simply not at the level of an arcane refiner. I will still expose you, a fake. Almost everyone released their divine sense and searched Jia Rong's body. Jia Rong had a fearless appearance as he coldly stared at Su Yuankiao. The ridicule in his eyes was like watching a clown being praised. After a moment, Zhu Han's face turned cold and he coldly said, "Su Yuankiao, please give everyone an explanation now." Su Yuankiao panicked. "How is this possible?" "He's definitely poisoned by the Yin Wind Stone, I'm 100% sure." He frantically swept his divine sense over Jia Rong's body, his expression becoming more and more unsightly. "Ha, have you seen enough?" Jia Rong suddenly shouted in a deep voice. A huge wave of soul power erupted from his sea of knowledge and fiercely collided with Su Yuankiao's divine sense. An invisible force twisted the air a little. Su Yuankiao was suddenly attacked and hurriedly withdrew his divine sense. However, the other party was not willing to let him go and suddenly rushed into his sea of knowledge. His soul suddenly trembled. Pooh! His divine sense was injured. Su Yuankiao directly vomited a mouthful of blood. He involuntarily cried out in shock. How can your soul power be so strong?" Jia Rong coldly laughed and mocked. "I'm a genuine alchemist. My soul power is naturally much stronger than those fakes." Su Yuankiao angrily attacked his heart and once again vomited a mouthful of blood. Good, good, good. He said good 3 times in a row. The light in his eyes suddenly dimmed. His entire body was like a deflated balloon. All of his spiritual energy was instantly sucked out, making him look incomparably old. Zhu Han was stunned and let out a long sigh. "Su Yuankiao, why are you doing this?" Su Yuankiao appeared to be in a trance as he stuttered. "President, I am already old and weak. I would like to request to retire and return to my hometown to spend my remaining years in the countryside. Please approve it, President." Everyone was shocked into a daze. Su Yuankiao's divine sense had actually collapsed due to his extreme anger, and his soul power had dropped to the level of an apprentice in arcane refinement. Even Jia Rong was slightly surprised, but he was extremely excited and happy in his heart. He had only trained in the soul refinement art for 5 days, yet his soul power was able to directly injure Su Yuankiao. It must be known that although Su Yuankiao was only a first-step warrior rank arcane master, he had been famous for a long time, and his soul power had always been at the first step. Young Master Yun, just who are you?" Jia Rong was completely convinced by this mysterious young man. To be able to obtain this art, not to mention 50 days of servitude, even 50 years of servitude would be worth it. Zhu Han shook his head helplessly. Su Yuankiao had already lost the standard of a warrior rank arcane master, and he was already old. It was impossible for him to recover, and if he stayed in the Arcane Refinement Guild, he would have to constantly be on guard against other people's revenge. When he was proud, he had offended many people. He immediately sighed and said, "Go home and recuperate in peace. I will report everything to His Majesty." Su Yuankiao's voice trembled as he said, "Thank you, Lord President." He lowered his head and didn't dare to meet anyone's gaze as he walked away. Zhu Han let out a long sigh and said in a clear voice, "Master Su Yuankiao has returned to his hometown due to his unwell body. From today onwards, all grudges between him and everyone else will be written off. No one is allowed to harass him for any reason." After he finished speaking, his gaze immediately fell on Jia Rong. Jia Rong smiled, crossed his arms, and said indifferently, "President is right." Only then did Zhu Han feel relieved. The soul power Jia Rong displayed just now was already at the first rank. His future achievements were even more limitless. Everyone was well aware that he was the one who had injured Su Yuankiao's mind. Otherwise, his cultivation wouldn't have dropped. However, no one was willing to offend an arcane master with limitless potential for the sake of an old man who was at the end of his rope. Everyone greeted Jia Rong one after another. This was also a show of goodwill. A kind smile appeared on Jia Rong's face as he responded to them one by one, but he was sneering inside. "If not for young Master Yun's help, all of you would probably be beating a drowning dog right now," Zhu Han said. "Jia Rong, I am also surprised by your improvement. I didn't expect your soul power to be this stable after your recent breakthrough." Take Yun Shang to receive her arcane master badge. Jia Rong accepted the order with a smile and led Luo Yunshang through all the procedures. Luo Yunshang suddenly thought of something and said, "Grandmaster Jia, if I may be so bold as to ask a favor." "Oh," Jia Rong smiled. "Please speak, Lady Yun Shang." Luo Yunshang was one of the 5 commanders of the Divine Guard of the kingdom. Her strength and prestige were far above his, so he was very polite to her. Luo Yunshang said, "I have a student who is unable to cultivate due to his body. However, he is very interested in the art of arcane refinement and has learned quite a bit about it. I hope to find a good master for him. Is Lord Jia interested in taking him in as a disciple?" Jia Rong frowned. "Disciple? Lady Yun Shang is an arcane master herself. Her strength isn't inferior to mine, so why bother looking for me?" Arcane masters had extremely strict requirements for taking in disciples. Even nobles didn't give in. They wouldn't take in disciples if they weren't extremely talented. Luo Yunshang sighed. "This person's identity is a little special. As the commander of the Divine Guard of the kingdom, it is not appropriate for me to have a master-disciple relationship with him. To tell you the truth, this person is the eldest grandson of Duke Jing and the son of General Fei Long." Jia Rong nodded in realization. "I see. I've heard that Duke Jing's eldest grandson is a martial trash and became the laughing stock of the nation. However, Lady Yun Shang should know that martial trash and weak physique make it difficult for him to achieve anything in arcane refinement." Luo Yunshang nodded. "Yun Shang is aware, but this person is unique. Even if he can't become Lord Jia's direct disciple, I hope I can guide him a little. At the very least, he can become an arcane refinement apprentice. It will be an explanation to the old Duke." Jia Rong's eyes darkened and he said coldly, "In that case, I will meet this person. However, he must pass the soul power test. If he reaches the minimum requirements for an arcane refinement apprentice, I will take him in as my disciple myself. However, this is all for Lady Yun Shang's sake." Luo Yunshang was overjoyed. "Thank you, Lord Jia. I will remember this." Jia Rong nodded slightly and said impatiently, "Take him to the soul power test when you have time. If he passes, I will take him in as my disciple. If he can't even reach the minimum requirements, then there is no need to see me." Luo Yunshang looked at Jia Rong's departing figure and thought, this person is the youngest arcane refinement master. His future is limitless. Letting Lai Yunxiao follow him can be considered returning a favor. At the same time, it will put the old country's police at ease. I just don't know how his soul power is. I hope he doesn't disappoint me. That's all I can do. 3 days later, it was time for Jia Lan Academy's annual assessment. After the assessment, there would be an annual 2-month break. Those who stayed would be promoted to the intermediate class next semester, while those who failed would be kicked out of the academy. Every year, a large number of noble students were eliminated. Almost all poor students could pass because they would be reduced to mere mortals if they were eliminated. That was why they cultivated with all their might. The assessment was held in the Academy's largest training field. This training field was one of the Academy's landmarks. It was personally built by the previous president of the Arcane Refinement Guild, Yang Dai. It was made from several extremely precious ores and spanned over 1,000 square meters. Not far from the training field was the Academy's most dazzling building, a huge statue of Gu Feiyang. The statue of Gu Feiyang rested one hand on the hilt of his sword, his eyes gazing into the distance. A disheartened smile appeared on his face. It was also personally refined by Gu Feiyang's student, Yang Dai, when he died 15 years ago. Lai Yunxiao stood quietly at the side, raising his head to look at his own face. His mind seemed to pass through layers of void, merging with his previous life. Yang Dai is quite considerate," Lai Yunxiao muttered to himself with a wry smile, feeling somewhat dejected. 2 students walked past Lai Yunxiao, glancing at him intentionally or unintentionally, and began to discuss. "I didn't expect you to condense your energy and advance to a martial warrior after just a few months of seclusion. Ha, it's all for the assessment. Martial warriors can directly enter the elite class from the intermediate class. Isn't that so? I'm miserable. I've only opened 2 chakras. Will I be eliminated? Don't worry, you can advance as long as you can open 1 chakra. Hey, look over there, the rumored young Master Lai. He's a typical piece of trash. He's the real target for elimination. No way, the young Master Lai can also be eliminated. Of course, where do you think this is? Even the king of Jialan Academy has to abide by the rules. Fuck, Lai Yongxiao cursed. He naturally wouldn't bother with these small fries. He quickly walked to the training field and discovered that a large number of students had already gathered there. Many of them were gathered around to watch the show, pointing fingers at them. Hanbai walked over. Young Master Yun, what took you so long? Why are there so many people? Lai Yongxiao frowned. Hanbai snorted coldly, his gaze sweeping over everyone. Of course they're here to watch the show. You also know that our class has always been called the trash class. These poor bastards are all here to see how many of us are left. There are more than 10 people who don't intend to come for the assessment. They've already packed their bags and gone home. Lai Yongxiao looked around. Sure enough, there were many fewer people. Those who could enter their rich and powerful class all had powerful backers in the empire. Even if they couldn't become martial artists, they still didn't have to worry about food or clothing, and their futures were bright. Thus, although few people dared to provoke them in the academy, none of them fawned over them. Many people loved to see them make a fool of themselves. Chapter 18. Don't squeeze my spot, first come first. Let's squeeze together. It's rare to see a joke. How many people in this rubbish class can stay? Let's see if there's a 5th. There are 60 people in a class and only 30 or so came. Another half should be enough. How about we play a round? Everyone will report a number. The one with the closest number wins. All right, I'll report 12. So optimistic. Then I'll report 9. Amidst the hustle and bustle, Wang Feng's voice suddenly rang out. Almost everyone is here. Those who aren't here don't wait any longer. Just fail and get lost. Teacher Luo Yunshang is in seclusion. I will be in charge of your assessment this time. He coldly glanced at the crowd and suddenly laughed evilly. This time, the rules need to be slightly changed. In the past, opening the chakra or a punch with 1,000 jin of strength would be considered as passing. But many students who couldn't open their chakra would secretly take strength-enhancing pills to cheat. So this year, both the chakra and the strength of 1,000 jin must be opened, or else you will fail. His cold gaze swept across Lai Yongxiao. He knew that Lai Yongxiao must have 1,000 jin of strength to be able to defeat Lan Fei. Lai Yongxiao's eyes flashed coldly. He stood still. Although the new rules caused a lot of discussion, no one objected. Because everyone in the class was rich and powerful, they had either opened their chakra and had a strength of 100 jin, or they couldn't open their chakra and were too weak. No one would cultivate the strongman's skill. It was a kind of unparalleled strength, but they couldn't open their chakra. Next, who will be the first? Wang Feng coldly glanced at the crowd, his gaze landing on Lai Yongxiao. Even Shangyuan King, Du Feng, and the rest were looking at him coldly. But after Lan Fei's retirement, these people lost their backbone, and now Shangyuan King was the leader. But Lai Yongxiao's performance that day was too shocking, so no one dared to challenge him. HMPH, what are you looking at? Do you believe that I won't poke your eyeballs out? Lai Yongxiao glared back at Shangyuan King and the rest, then walked out from the crowd. Shangyuan King and the rest were frightened by him. They all lowered their heads, but their eyes were filled with resentment as they cursed in their hearts. Lai Yongxiao stared at Wang Feng contemptuously as he sneered. Isn't it just activating chakras and breaking 500 kg strength? Open your eyes and see. A beam of green light shone from his heart chakra. Lai Yongxiao sneered and walked forward step by step. Every time he took a step forward, a chakra would be opened and the radiance of the chakra would be like colorful clouds. Undersea chakra. Self-wheel. Top wheel. Rays of light burst forth, and Lai Yongxiao's body was covered in a myriad of colors, as if a deity had descended from the heavens. All 7 chakras have been opened. How is this possible? Wasn't he trash? The famous trash is actually only a step away from the first origin stage. Wang Feng was completely dumbfounded. He had thought that Lan Fei could only defeat Lan Fei by relying on medicinal pellets or training in strongman arts. After all, Lai Yunxiao's meridians were damaged, and he was unable to train. This incident was known by everyone in the capital, and he became a laughingstock. How could he open his meridians? I remember that the Lai clan once hired a fourth-order monarch-level alchemist, but he couldn't do anything. Look carefully, breaking 500 kg strength is just so-so. Lai Yunxiao fiercely stomped his foot, and the diamond floor cracked with a loud bang, leaving a series of spiderweb cracks. His body leaned back, and his fist shot out like lightning, landing on the strength-testing stone. Bang! A loud explosion resounded in the center of the field, and a shockwave exploded on the strength-testing stone. Lai Yunxiao slowly retracted his fist in front of everyone's stunned eyes, and a watermelon-sized hole was clearly imprinted on the strength-testing stone. PFFT. This is impossible. Stepping on the stone, leaving a mark on the metal. Isn't this something only a martial warrior can do? Look at that mark. Even a newly advanced martial warrior might not be able to do it, right? He must have used a martial skill. Many students couldn't believe it, especially those in Quan Gui's class. All of them widened their eyes, as if they had never seen Lai Yunxiao before. Although Han Bai and Chen Zhen were mentally prepared, they were still deeply shocked when they saw Lan Fei release 7 rays of chakra light and break 500 kg strength. As for Shangyuan King and the others, their faces were ashen. How would they dare to cause trouble in front of such a powerful force? Good, Lai Yunxiao, you hid your strength so well. Qin Ruxu pouted, her face full of excitement. The one with the worst expression was Wang Feng, cursing Lan Fei in his heart for not being able to sense the opponent's powerful Yuan Kai. Is everyone satisfied now? Lai Yunxiao coldly swept his gaze across the crowd. Everyone who was targeted by his gaze lowered their heads one after another. Finally, his gaze landed on Wang Feng, and he sneered. "Teacher Wang, I'm very busy. I'll take my leave first." This was like a slap in the face. Wang Feng was enraged, but there was nothing he could do. He could only ridicule. Don't think you're amazing just because you've opened your chakra. Let me tell you, this is just the beginning of the martial path. Lai Yunxiao looked at him with disdain, then walked away while laughing loudly. Wang Feng was so angry that the Yuan Kai in his body was in chaos, but he couldn't attack Lan Fei. He could only forcefully suppress the Yuan Kai under his feet, forming a spider web under his feet. When Lai Yunxiao walked to the edge of the martial field, his laughter suddenly stopped. In front of him, a man in white slowly stood there, looking at him with a smile. Let me introduce myself. I'm the leader of the graduating class, Xuan Gang, Lan Xuan. Lan Xuan chuckled. As soon as this name left his mouth, the surrounding students all revealed looks of shock. A lofty aura and a sense of superiority radiated from his face without the slightest concealment. He really wanted to see Lai Yunxiao's shocked and panicked expression when he heard his name. How interesting would that be? But he was soon disappointed. Lai Yunxiao had seen all kinds of pretentious people. He directly raised his index finger and said disdainfully, "HMPH, a good dog doesn't block the way. You..." Lan Xuan was so angry that he almost spat out blood. In the academy, which student dared to speak to him like this, and in front of so many people at that? Rage shot out of his eyes, but he quickly suppressed it. He forcefully adjusted his demeanor, but his body became even more stiff and unnatural. "Heh, I won't argue with you. I'm here today for that useless little brother of mine." "Oh," hit the little dog, and here comes the big dog. "You are the people of the Lai family all so uneducated." "Educated your sister? How many years have our two families fought? How many people have died? Your little brother was crippled by me, and you still want to reason with me. If you're not an idiot, then what are you?" Little B****, if you want to talk big, I'll make you regret ever being born into this world. Lan Xuan could no longer maintain his demeanor and began to curse. "Heh, that's right. A ruffian is a ruffian. What's the point of pretending? I'm not going to argue with you. I'm here today to issue you a challenge." His face was livid with rage, and he took out a letter of challenge from his body. On the letter of challenge was written the size of a bowl with golden powder in Zaiajuan script. Then he threw the letter at Lai Yunxiao. The conflict between the two quickly attracted everyone's attention. No one was watching Wang Feng's test. Hearing the challenge letter, everyone's eyes lit up and they pricked up their ears. Lan Xuan raised his head and sneered. Originally, it was no big deal for you to play house with my little brother. But it's also my younger brother's fault for not living up to expectations and doing such a thing that angers people and gods alike. He deserves to be expelled from school, but as your big brother, I can't just ignore it. I have to teach you a lesson. Wang Feng almost spat out a mouthful of blood when he heard this. His face was red and his eyes were spitting fire. In order to counteract the negative impact of Lan Fei's incident, he had been secretly spreading information that Lan Fei was innocent and that he was framed by Lai Yunxiao. And just as many people were starting to believe it, Lan Xuan actually stood up and admitted that it was his little brother who did it. This made all his efforts go to waste. And now, Lan Fei's chances of returning to the academy were 0. Even in the capital, his reputation would be ruined and he would not be able to raise his head. And now that Lan Xuan stood up for his little brother, he gained a good reputation. Not only would his little brother be more loyal, but the Lan family would also look up to him. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone, so it was Lan Fei who did it. I thought he was framed. I thought so too at first, but now even his big brother has admitted it. I even bathed with him in the bathhouse last time. How scary. I think you should be more careful. You're from the Xuan clan. Xuan clan? What's wrong with the Xuan clan? Why should I be careful? It's fine. I just heard that it's hereditary. Wang Feng was so angry that his chest was about to explode. Lan Xuan, you're really ruthless. Lan Xuan had a triumphant smile on his face, and his heart was blooming with joy. He pointed a finger at Lai Yunxiao and said loudly, I'll give you 2 choices now. The first is to kneel down and swear that you will never touch a member of the Lan family again. Furthermore, you will bow to the Lan family whenever you see them. 2, fight with me and let me cripple you completely. Then kneel down and repent. Think about it carefully. Since it's not easy for you to cultivate, I advise you to choose the first option. Wow, that's too ruthless. If I choose the first option, would I still be able to live in the future? Yes, but if I don't choose, I'll definitely die in the battle with Lan Xuan. This is the choice between face and life. Let's see how Lai Yunxiao chooses. Qin Ruxu rushed over in anger. Lan Xuan, you're too much. You're a graduating student. I heard that you've already reached 9 stars martial warrior. You're only 1 step away from becoming a martial master and directly entering the divine guard of the kingdom. Do you still have any face to challenge a martial warrior, not a martial disciple? Lai Yunxiao laughed coldly. The younger brother steals women's underwear and has a gay relationship. How good can the older brother be? When did the Lan family have any face? Chapter 19. Lan Xuan's face reddened and then he laughed wantonly. If you don't dare, then just say it. If you want a woman to stand up for you, then this is the eldest grandson of the Duke of Jing, the son of the Flying Dragon General. Ha, your sister Ba. Lai Yunxiao spat a mouthful of phlegm directly at Lan Xuan's face. The force was so great that there was a faint sound of breaking air. Lan Xuan was furious, but seeing the thick phlegm flying at him, he couldn't block it and could only move sideways to avoid it. In the eyes of outsiders, it was as if he had made way for Lai Yunxiao. Lai Yunxiao walked over sarcastically and raised his middle finger. Although you are shameless, I will accept your challenge. 3 days later in the martial arts arena, I will beat you until you kneel down and lick my shoes. All the students present were stunned. Han Bai and Chen Zhen were so scared that their faces turned pale. They hurriedly ran over to stand behind Lai Yunxiao and encouraged him not to be impulsive. Qin Ruxu also said anxiously, No, Lai Yunxiao, don't show off for a moment. Lai Yunxiao's heart warmed. Although he had been muddle-headed for the past 15 years and had achieved nothing, he still had a few sincere friends. Compared to his previous life, he stood at the peak of the mainland, but he was alone. He smiled at the 3 people. and that sunny smile immediately infected Chen Zhen, Han Bai, and Qin Ruxu, calming their anxious hearts. It was as if they fully believed that Lai Yunxiao's victory was within his grasp. The three people were stunned and stood there dumbfounded. They couldn't understand why they had such a strange and absolutely impossible feeling. Lan Xuan was also stunned for a moment, his face livid with anger. But he had never imagined that Lai Yunxiao would agree so readily. Afraid that he would go back on his word, he hurriedly said, "This is what you said. If you don't show up in 3 days, there will be no place for you in Jia Lan Academy." Lai Yunxiao didn't even turn his head. Only his faint laughter could be heard. "Don't worry, these 3 days I won't wash my feet." "You!" Lan Xuan was so angry that his face was ashen. He looked coldly at Lai Yunxiao's back as he left and gnashed his teeth. "You're just a glib talker. If I don't completely cripple you in 3 days, my surname isn't Lan." The smile on Lai Yunxiao's face gradually disappeared as traces of killing intent flashed across his eyes. The grudges between the Lai and Lan families have been going on for decades. Let's start with you little brats. When the time comes, we'll uproot the entire Lan family. He directly left the academy and headed towards the Alchemist Guild. The hall on the first floor was still bustling with activity. Lai Yunxiao glanced over and saw an arcane apprentice concentrating on brewing a potion. A faint medicinal smell wafted over. He knew that it was a powerful potion, something that could increase a martial artist's power in a short period of time. Now that it was time for Jia Lan Academy's annual examinations, this kind of thing was very popular. The acolyte was completely focused on infusing his soul power into the medicinal container, balancing the conflicting medicinal properties, and adding things into it from time to time. Lai Yunxiao smiled slightly and couldn't help but remind him, "There's too much horizontal refinement grass. Put in a dust flower to neutralize the medicinal properties, or it'll explode in 5 breaths." The acolyte raised his head and saw that it was someone he didn't recognize. He immediately snapped, "What do you know? Don't disturb me." 3 breaths, 2 breaths. Lai Yunxiao gently nodded. Finally, when he said 1 breath, the apprentice's expression changed drastically. The originally calm potion in the container suddenly seemed to boil, and with a bang, it exploded. The acolyte was completely dumbfounded. The explosion wasn't very big. It only splashed some of the medicine on him. This kind of thing happened dozens of times a day in the hall on the first floor, so no one paid attention. The acolyte finally asked in shock, How do you know there's too much horizontal refinement grass?" Lai Yunxiao smiled. "Nothing, I smelled it. I want to find Jia Rong. Can you notify him for me?" "Smell it?" The acolyte clearly didn't believe him. "Grandmaster Jia Rong seems to be in seclusion. I don't have the qualifications to find him." A beautiful figure walked over and asked with concern, "Brother, you failed again? Are you hurt?" The acolyte shook his head. "I'm fine, I'm just wet. It's a waste of the ingredients. Sigh, this brother is really useless." Lai Yunxiao looked at the beauty and smiled. "Miss Lu Yao." Lu Yao turned around and said in surprise, "Ah, it's you." Lai Yunxiao put on a gentlemanly appearance. "It's my honor that the beauty still remembers me." Lu Yao giggled. "Grandmaster Liang Wenyu was full of praise for your prescription last time." Grandmaster Liang Wenyu was full of praise. The acolyte Lu Yu was shocked. "Are you also an arcane refiner?" Lai Yunxiao smiled. "I was, but I'm not yet. I want to find Jia Rong. Beauty, help me pass the message." Lu Yao was stunned. "Grandmaster Jia Rong? He just came out of seclusion. Come with me." She then said to Lu Yu, "Brother, don't be discouraged. Try a few more times and you'll succeed." Lu Yu bitterly said, "Maybe I really don't have the talent to become an arcane refiner. I've tried a simple strong potion more than 10 times and I still haven't succeeded. Also, these ingredients are extremely expensive. I don't have the money to waste like this. Also, I'm not young anymore. I plan to find a family to rely on in a few days." Lu Yao was shocked. "Brother, don't be like this. Believe in yourself. In Lu Yao's heart, brother will always be the best." Lu Yu's eyes flashed, but it quickly dimmed. "Sister, you've been earning money for me to study all these years. I don't want to be your burden anymore. If I still can't make a strong potion after these ingredients are used up, I'll give up." Lai Yunxiao suddenly smiled. Remember to put at least 3 cross-smelting grass. If the color is too light, add a cloud-piercing Ganoderma. Believe me, you can do it. Lu Yu was shocked. You're an arcane refiner, Lai Yunxiao said. Didn't I say it just now? I was in the past, but I'm not. Lu Yao encouraged. Brother, just try to do as he says. The last time he took out a recipe, even Master Liang when you praised it. Lu Yu pondered for a moment. Okay, I'll try. Lai Yunxiao smiled and followed Lu Yao to the second floor. This was the first time Lai Yunxiao had been to the second floor of the Arcane Refiner Guild, but the structure of the Arcane Refiner towers across the continent was the same. Thus, he felt like he was familiar with the place. Soon they arrived in front of a room. Lu Yao carefully knocked on the door. Jia Rong's impatient voice came from inside. It was as if she had disturbed his cultivation. Lu Yao was startled. She nervously said, "There's a young man called Young Master Yun looking for you." Young Master Yun. A shocked voice came from inside, followed by a series of banging sounds. It seemed like many things were knocked over. In the next second, the door opened. "Young Master Yun." Jia Rong's face was full of reverence. He hurriedly moved to the side and opened up a path. Lu Yao was stunned. Her face was full of disbelief. What was wrong with the arrogant Master Jia Rong? Why was he so polite to a young man? No, not polite, but respectful. His expression was even more respectful than when he met the president. Lai Yunxiao smiled and said to the dazed Lu Yao, "You can leave first." After Lu Yao hurriedly retreated, Lai Yunxiao walked in. The room was very spacious. All kinds of refining equipment and arrays were arranged. There was only a small resting area in an extremely small corner. A few exquisite animal skin sofas were placed there, and there was also a small bed in the corner. The incomparably glorious status of an arcane master was also obtained by training day and night. Behind every arcane master, although there was also luck, there was no lack of hard work and hard training. Young Master Yun, not only did I recover all my soul power, I even directly broke through. I really broke through, Jia Rong said excitedly. He had no one to talk to since breaking through. He was about to suffocate to death. Now he finally found someone to talk to. You're so excited about such a small thing. Lai Yunxiao rolled her eyes at him. I don't have time to listen to these trivial things. Wait until you break through to level 6 Master Alchemist, then talk to me. Becoming a true arcane refiner was a joyous occasion for the entire kingdom, but in his eyes it was a trivial matter. Jia Rong's face turned green. When he heard the last sentence, his eyes popped out of their sockets. He cried out in shock, Sixth rank, Grandmaster? How is this possible? How can I have such high talent?" Lai Yunxiao said indifferently, "Of course you don't have this kind of talent, but with the soul refining technique I taught you, you can still reach the 6th rank." Jia Rong went completely crazy this time. He muttered to himself, 6th rank, I can really reach the 6th rank. You're not lying to me, are you? Lai Yunxiao frowned. He said coldly, "Don't forget your identity. What qualifications do you have for me to lie to you? The 6th rank is just the beginning in my eyes. I came to find you to refine a few pills for me." Yes. Cold sweat dripped down Jia Rong's forehead. The 6th rank was just the beginning. Although this young Master Yun was mysterious, he was boasting too much. Lai Yunxiao nodded. One is the Yuan charging pill, and the other is the Yuan explosion pill. Yuan charging pill, Yuan explosion pill? Jia Rong was shocked. These 2 pills are infinitely close to the 2nd rank. I just became a 1st rank arcane refiner. I'm afraid I can't refine them. Lai Yunxiao sneered. I'm here. What are you afraid of? Start preparing the materials now. My time is limited. Jia Rong was stunned. Is young Master Yun going to teach me how to refine pills? Is he an arcane refiner too? How is that possible? Although Jia Rong had doubts in his heart, he still obediently followed Lai Yunxiao's instructions. Soon, he had people prepare 3 sets of materials for each pill. Lai Yunxiao said, "1 for each pill is enough. Why do you need 3 sets of materials?" Jia Rong smiled bitterly. This young Master Yun really wasn't an arcane refiner. He didn't even know that there was a success rate. Jia Rong explained, A first-rank arcane refiner has a success rate of more than 60% when refining a first-rank pill, but it's not 100%. The success rate for refining pills like the Yuan charging pill and Yuan explosion pill is even lower. 3 sets of materials probably won't be enough. However, there are only 3 sets left. I've already asked them to think of a way to gather more. Lai Yunxiao snorted. He didn't say anything and walked straight to the refining equipment. He scanned them and said, "Start. You refine them. Just follow my instructions." Jia Rong found it hard to believe, but he suppressed his doubts and began refining under Lai Yunxiao's guidance. Chapter 20. The most important aspect of refining a pill was to balance the medicinal effects. The most difficult part was to fuse the attributes of the various ingredients together with soul power. Let's purify the ingredients first. Jia Rong spread out his soul power and separated the ingredients into different categories. He placed them into different containers according to Lai Yunxiao's instructions and began to purify them. Time slowly passed. Lai Yunxiao cursed him countless times, but Jia Rong gritted his teeth and endured it step by step. He was completely dizzy during the entire refining process. At the start, he was still memorizing the steps and techniques, but towards the end, he was completely listening to instructions like a robot. He was so tired that he almost collapsed. "All right, collect the pills." With Lai Yunxiao's command, Jia Rong could no longer hold on. As if he had been granted amnesty, he hurriedly used his soul power, and Yuan Kai shot out from his hand. 2 pills spun a few times in the air before landing in his hand. "Yuan charging pill, Yuan explosion pill. I really succeeded?" Jia Rong trembled nonstop. He didn't feel tired even though he had used up all his soul power. He excitedly said, "And I refined 2 pills at the same time. Heavens, what did I do just now? How is this possible?" The grievance he felt from being scolded earlier had also been swept away. He hated that he couldn't hear young Master Yun call him an idiot, and an idiot every day as long as he could guide him in refining. Lai Yunxiao took the 2 pills from Jia Rong's hand and frowned. "Why is the purity so low? You still have the nerve to call yourself an alchemist after refining such trash." Jia Rong's eyes bulged out. He was just about to say that Huo Yuhao wasn't an alchemist, so how would he know the meaning behind refining these 2 pills? But then he remembered that he had refined the pills under Huo Yuhao's guidance. He wouldn't believe that Huo Yuhao wasn't an alchemist even if he was beaten to death. In his eyes, Lai Yunxiao wasn't just an alchemist, but an existence that surpassed his knowledge. He immediately shut his mouth when he thought of that. When he thought of what Huo Yuhao had said before about becoming a 6th-rank ancestor alchemist, he couldn't help but believe it. His body trembled with excitement. "You look like you're about to collapse. I'll have to purify it myself." "Troublesome," Lai Yunxiao mumbled, "but if it's just purification, my current advanced apprentice soul power is enough." He wrapped the pill with his soul power and flew above the formation again. He formed a seal with both hands, and yin fire shot out from the formation towards the pill. "Purify." Jia Rong was dumbfounded. "You can purify the finished product? Isn't it only possible to purify raw materials?" Lai Yunxiao was too lazy to explain this to him. His hands kept forming hand seals, carefully controlling the burning of the array. Jia Rong's eyes were wide open, and he didn't dare to blink. He had never seen any of Lai Yunxiao's hand seals before, but none of them gave him a sense of familiarity, as if there was something hidden in them. He always felt that this thing was very important, but he couldn't grasp it. He kept scratching his head anxiously. Done. Futilda Lai Yunxiao sighed and looked at the 2 purified pills in his hands. He seemed extremely dissatisfied and sighed. "This is the best I can do. My soul power is too low." With the spirit charging pill, he was confident that he could break through to the 1st element realm within 3 days. Only then would he be able to defeat the 9 stars warrior, Lan Xuan. Just in case, he still had a Yuan burst pill in reserve. This was the only way to ensure that nothing would go wrong, Jia Rong muttered to himself. He had used a total of 72 techniques. He tried his best to memorize these techniques. He glanced at the purified pill in Lai Yunxiao's hands and his mind went blank. He cried out, "Pure tier pill." Other than ranking, pills were also categorized by purity. Usually, a pill with a purity of more than 90% would be called a pure tier pill. However, the formation of a pure tier pill depended on luck as well as the strength of the alchemist. Not only could Lai Yunxiao purify a finished pill, but he could also purify a pure tier pill. Jia Rong's mind went blank, and he forgot to memorize the 72 techniques. He stood in his room in a daze. Today, things had happened one after another, leaving him completely dumbfounded. When he came back to his senses, he found that Lai Yunxiao had already left. He immediately felt extremely regretful. He hurriedly took out a pen and paper and wrote down his thoughts and doubts. When Lai Yunxiao passed by the hall on the first floor, he heard Lu Yu shout excitedly, "I did it. I finally did it." Lu Yao immediately revealed a happy smile. When she saw Lai Yunxiao, she gave him a grateful smile. Lai Yunxiao gave her a thumbs up and gave her a look of encouragement. He then left the Alchemist Guild and returned to Jia Lan Academy to cultivate. With his current strength as a peak martial disciple, he was not afraid of Lan Xuan. However, if he wanted to defeat Lan Xuan, he would need to condense Yuan Kai and step into the first origin realm. It should be known that it was not strange to challenge someone of a higher level. However, if the difference between the two was too great, then all techniques would be useless. The Yuan Kai of a 9 stars martial disciple was no longer something that a martial disciple could resist. Over the past few days, Han Bai and Chen Zhen had looked for him several times, but it was all to no avail. No one expected that he would stay in the gravity room for 3 days. Jia Lan Academy, Dean's office. When Zhang Lishan heard about Luo Yunshang's performance during this time, his old face immediately bloomed into a smile. "Yun Shang, I didn't think that you'd really become an alchemist. Haha, you can be said to be the first person after Yang Dai in the past few hundred years. However," he immediately put on a stern face and said angrily, "You actually didn't inform me of such an important matter. I only found out when the invitations to His Majesty's banquet arrived. Where do you want me as the dean to put my face?" Luo Yunshang smiled awkwardly. "I didn't think that His Majesty's invitation would arrive so quickly. Because I just advanced, my soul power is still a little unstable. I've been in seclusion these past few days to stabilize it. I originally wanted to tell the dean when I came out." Zhang Lishan waved his hand and said, "Let's forget about this matter. Among these youths, you are the one I think the most highly of. You're only 21 years old, but you've already reached the 3 stars 4 divisions realm. You're a rank 1 alchemist. Your future is limitless. I plan to announce to everyone at this banquet that you will be promoted to Jia Lan Academy's Vice Dean." "Vice Dean?" Luo Yunshang was shocked. "How can I do that? Zhang Lishan directly interrupted her. "If even you can't do it, I can't think of anyone else. There are indeed some old monsters in the academy with higher cultivation than you, but they are old, and you're also cultivating in the soul refinement realm. Furthermore, you're one of the 5 commanders of the Guardian Divine Guards. Only you can convince everyone wholeheartedly." Luo Yunshang also didn't say anything. She was afraid that Zhang Lishan wouldn't be happy if she continued to decline. The office immediately quieted down. Suddenly, a clamor came from outside the window. Many students could be seen heading towards the martial arts practice field. Luo Yunshang was flabbergasted. What happened? Why are they all heading to the martial arts practice field? Zhang Lishan smiled. "Speaking of which, it's interesting. It's that influential class student Lai Yunxiao that you're leading." He accepted the letter of challenge from the graduating class's Xuan gang's boss, Lan Xuan. He's planning to fight for Lan Fei's matter at the martial arts practice field today. Lai Yunxiao accepted Lan Xuan's letter of challenge. Lan Fei's matter? Luo Yunshang cried out involuntarily. What exactly happened when I wasn't around? Zhang Lishan gave a simple recount of what had happened. In the end, he snorted. These influential students are becoming more and more lawless in the academy. It's good to let them fight amongst themselves. Lan Fei was actually expelled. Luo Yunshang was stunned. She immediately said anxiously, No, I must stop them. Lai Yunxiao is just a piece of trash who can't even open his chakra. How can he possibly defeat Lan Xuan? He's clearly looking for a beating. A trace of astonishment flashed through Zhang Lishan's eyes. A piece of trash who can't even open his chakra. Yun Shang, both you and I have been tricked by this young Master Yun. He directly opened 7 chakras during the 3 days of the martial arts practice field test and broke 500 kilograms of force with a single punch. This kid is actually so cunning. He hid his strength so deeply. I'm afraid he's already broken through to Origin Realm. Lai Yunxiao broke 500 kilograms of force with a single punch and broke through to Origin Realm. Luo Yunshang was completely flabbergasted now. She murmured, "How is that possible? If he hid his cultivation, there's no way he could have hidden it from my eyes. Could he have broken through just a few days ago? That's even more absurd." She abruptly walked towards the door and said in a low voice, "No, even if he really broke through to Origin Realm, he's still no match for Lan Xuan. Lan Xuan is ranked 3rd on the minor wind cloud ranking. I'm afraid he's only a step away from becoming a martial master." The image of Lai Yunxiao in class that day flashed through her mind. It made her feel that he was very different from before. His starry eyes made her feel uneasy. Moreover, she was only able to smoothly break through to rank 1 arcane refiner because of his guidance. She couldn't just watch him get crippled. Zhang Lishan was a little surprised. "I'll go with you. I can also see the level of the students now. 3rd on the minor wind cloud ranking, Interesting." Inside the tenfold gravity room, Yu Hezheng couldn't help but say, "Lan Duo, are we really not going to watch that piece of trash duel with Lan Xuan today?" A trace of disgust flashed through Roland Duo's eyes. Her impression of Yu Hezheng was growing worse and worse. "You go watch. I don't have the time. Lan Xuan's ranking on the minor wind cloud ranking is just below Big Brother Lin. That clown will only be a joke if he goes." However, Lan Xuan is just so-so. He only knows how to bully pushovers. Only Big Brother Lin and Bai Chengfeng are the true experts in my heart. Yu Hezheng saw the expression on her face when she mentioned Lin Yu. He immediately felt uncomfortable in his heart. "Since you're not going, I'll go by myself. I've always wanted to see how that piece of trash dies." Roland Duo looked at Yu Hezheng's departing figure and said in disdain, "You don't have the ability to defeat Lai Yunxiao, so it's satisfying to watch him fight." I didn't expect Yu Hezheng to be so unambitious. Useless. Just as Yu Hezheng's figure was teleported out of the tenfold gravity room, her gaze suddenly flickered as she saw a familiar figure dragging his exhausted body onto the teleportation formation and following them out. Apart from the exhaustion, that figure also gave her a lonely and proud feeling. Her heart shook. She couldn't suppress the shock in her heart. "Lai Yunxiao."